Ayan. Wait lang, kinakabahan ako kahit online naman.
Yan.
So, ayan, start na. Good day, everyone. We are Group 8 and we are here to present a reporting about somatic symptom and related disorders. I'm Nicolay Gwinnett Valenzuela and I'm one of the reporters for today. So, here are the contents of our presentation. First, we will discuss what are somatic symptom and related disorders, followed by the types of somatic symptom and related disorders. We have somatic symptom disorder, illness anxiety disorder, conversion disorder, malingering, and factitious disorder. We will discuss its causes, symptoms, and intervention each. And after that, we have provided um, um, a case study presentation concerning a person diagnosed with somatic symptom disorder, but our case study, um, we have decided to pick an illness anxiety disorder. So to begin with, we will start with a catchphrase or question. Have you ever felt excessive worry regarding your health condition? Um, I'm sure most of us, lalo na isang trait natin mga Filipino, yung mahilig tayong mag-alala, lalo na kung may nararamdaman tayong kakaiba sa ating katawan. And we tend to think about it sa point na nasistress tayo sa kakaisip sa problema na yon. So, first, we will discuss kung ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng somatic. Somatic refers to the body or physical aspects of a person. And kung sa madaling salita, ang somatic ay yung physical nating nararamdaman, yung physical. And disorder is a pattern of abnormal thoughts, behaviors, emotions that causes significant distress. So, sa somatic symptom disorder, uh, ayun, sorry. So, meron tayong key terms na somatic and disorder. And pag kinumbine natin itong dalawang terms na ito, nagkakaroon tayo ng isang kondisyon na tinatawag na somatic symptom and related disorders. Somatic symptom and related disorders or SSRD are defined by excessive concerns about physical symptoms or health. So sa somatic symptom disorder, um, ang isang tao ay nakaka-develop ng tinatawag nating health anxiety na kung saan high levels of distress about a health condition. So we have five types of somatic symptom and related disorders. We have the first one, it is somatic symptom disorder, followed by illness anxiety disorder, conversion disorder, malingering, and factitious disorder. So the first one is somatic symptom disorder, and we have a video presentation showing um, some patients diagnosed with this disorder po. aside from that, yung patients na diagnosed ng somatic symptom disorder, they tend to seek frequent medical care and they tend to see different physicians. Kunwari, meron pa silang option 1 and option 2 and option 3. At itong process na ito, magastos ito and usually hindi pa sila satisfied. Okay, wait lang, wait lang. Um, so, to define somatic symptom disorder, uh, it involves excessive anxiety towards a somatic or physical symptom. Kagaya nga doon sa napanood natin sa video kanina, ang dalawang patients is nagkaroon sila ng sobrang anxiety dahil sa kanilang nararamdaman. And somatic symptom disorder patients tend to view small symptoms as a sign of looming disease. Uh, yung patients na mayroong disorder na ito is they tend to seek frequent medical care and they see different physicians. Kunwari, meron pa silang option 1, option 2, and option 3. At yung process na ito is magastos siya and usually, ang end result nito is hindi pa sila satisfied kapag ang result ng diagnosis is walang medical explanation or cure. At dahil dito, naiisip nila na ang mga medical expert is incompetent and uncaring, so they'll continue to seek more treatment. So next is the causes of somatic symptom disorders. We have two causes. It is the neurobiological factor and the cognitive behavioral factor. But for now, I will discuss the neurobiological factors. Some brain regions activate unpleasant body sensations leading to somatic symptoms and anxiety to one's health. Kapag sinabi natin neurobiological, it involves the brain and its processes. Dito natin malalaman kung bakit ba nagiging aware ang isang tao or paano siya nagkakaroon ng distress sa kanyang somatic or yung physical na nararamdaman niya. So, anterior cingulate cortex or ACC, anterior insula, and somatosensory cortex. Here is a diagram. These brain regions play a huge factor in developing awareness towards somatic symptoms. So, itong part ng rostral anterior insula and anterior cingulate cortex or yung ACC, itong dalawang parts na ito, yung ACC at anterior insula, magkakonekta sila at sila yung responsible kapag may nararamdaman tayong pain or heat sa ating body. And these parts are involved rin at meron silang strong connections sa somatosensory cortex or yung part na responsible sa ating body sensations. Kaya kapag may activity sa brain parts na ito, sa tatlong brain parts na ito, mas lalong nagiging aware ang isang tao sa kanyang nararamdaman or ito yung tinatawag na somatic symptoms. So, the second cause of somatic symptom disorder is cognitive behavioral factors. This contributes to excessive focus and anxiety over health concerns. So, ang focus nito is bakit nga ba nagkakaroon ng excessive focus or anxiety ang isang tao sa kanyang somatic symptoms. So, here is a diagram. Um, as you can see, we have a medical symptom, physiological disturbance leading to psychiatric disorder, stress and trauma, and emotional arousal. Dito pinapakita kung paano ba nagkaka-develop ang somatic symptom sa isang tao. And it is followed by nagkakaroon sila ng attention sa body and health anxiety worries about a serious illness and symptoms attributed to illness. Dito sa blue boxes, dito na nila naiintindihan yung somatic symptoms. At once na magkaroon sila ng attention at naintindihan na nila yung kanilang nararamdaman, na ini-interpret nila ito in the worst possible way. For example, nagkaroon ka ng matinding pananakit ng ulo or headache and ililink mo agad ito sa brain cancer. Um, so, ayun, magkakaroon na sila ng negative thoughts at iisip-isipin nila na yung symptoms na yun ng paulit-ulit. So, here are the symptoms of somatic symptom disorder with the duration of at least 6 months of the following. At least one somatic symptom that is distressing daily life, excessive thoughts, distress, and behavior towards health-related anxiety, disproportionate and persistent concerns about seriousness of symptoms, and excessive time and energy devoted to health concerns. But the patient must specify if predominant pain. So, the interventions for somatic symptom disorder um, are the following, but we have to keep in mind na the patients of somatic symptom disorder usually want medical care and not mental health care. But as practitioners or a therapist, we can suggest that to them na mind-body connection is a must and there are certain interventions for those who have intense health anxiety. There are several interventions, but the most recommended for this disorder is cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT. So in CBT, through identifying and changing emotions or cognition that trigger somatic concerns. So in CBT, we have three steps. We identify and we change the emotion that triggers somatic concerns. Um, we change the second step is we change the cognition or the way of thinking about their somatic symptoms, and as they try to we also try to improve their social interaction. That's why family intervention is also a part of cognitive behavioral therapy. So the second intervention is acceptance and commitment therapy or ACT, which proposes to more accepting attitude towards pain and to view this as a natural part of life. So ACT is another variant of cognitive behavioral therapy wherein sa ACT, si therapist is ini-encourage niya si client na to adopt a more accepting attitude toward pain, suffering, depression, and anxiety. Tinutulungan ni therapist na mabago ang perspective ni client at ma-view na um, ma-view ito as a natural part of life. So, aside from CBT and ACT, we have other cognitive strategies like training to pay less attention to body, challenge negative thoughts, and sa iba, dinadiagnose sila ng antidepressants. So, that's it for somatic symptom disorder. And then next is illness anxiety disorder po. Ay, wait lang, wait lang.
So what's the problem this time?
This time I really think I have something. I mean, I'm.
So what's the problem this time?
This time I really think I have something. I mean, I'm absolutely convinced of it. You know, I mean, it's not like that adenoidal thing, you know, where I didn't realize I had them out. But it was when I was younger.
You know, I saw your father this week about his sinus, and he complained of chest pains.
Well, this guy's the real hypochondriac of the family. I mean, he's, you know.
You mentioned on the phone that you'd had some dizziness.
Yes, a little dizziness, and I think I'm developing a hearing loss in my right ear, or my left ear, my left. No, I'm sorry, it was my right or my left ear. Now I can't remember.
Okay, let's take a look. sorry to say you have had a significant drop in the high decibel range of your right ear.
Really?
You've been exposed to a loud noise recently, or have you had a virus?
No, I've been perfectly healthy. You know me, I always imagine that I have things.
When did you first notice this?
Well, about a month ago. What do I have?
You've had some busy spells. What about ringing, buzzing? You notice any of that?
Yes, now that you mention it, I have buzzing and also ringing and buzzing. Am I going deaf or something?
And it's just in one ear.
Yes, is it healthier to have problems in both ears?
Nicky, what's the matter with you? You're all white.
I feel dizzy. You know, I don't feel well. Do you hear a ringing? Is there a ringing sound?
Yeah. I hear it.
No, not
Hello?
that.
Yeah, we're gonna be working late tonight. No, we'll order out. It's all right, yeah.
Jesus, if I have a brain tumor, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Don't have a brain tumor. He didn't say you had a brain tumor.
No, naturally, they're not gonna tell you because, well, you know, sometimes the weaker ones will panic if
But
you tell
not
them.
you.
Oh, God. You're a buzzing. Is there a buzzing?
Nicky, come on, we got a show to do.
I can't keep my mind on the show.
But there's nothing wrong with you.
If there's nothing wrong with me, then why does he want me to come back for tests?
He has to rule out certain things.
Like what?
I don't know, cancer.
Don't say that. I don't want to hear that word. Don't mention that while I'm in the building.
But you don't have any symptoms.
I got the classic symptoms of a brain tumor.
2 months ago, you thought you had a malignant melanoma.
Naturally, the sudden appearance of a black spot on my back.
It was on your shirt.
I to know? Everyone was pointing back here.
Come on, we've got to make some booking decisions.
I can't think of it. He didn't say you had anything. He just doesn't like the spot on your x-ray, that's all. Doesn't mean you have anything. Don't jump to conclusions. Nothing's gonna happen to you. You're in the middle of New York City. This is your town. You're surrounded by people and traffic and restaurants. Thank God, how can you just one day vanish? Keep calm. You're gonna be okay. Don't panic. I'm dying. I know it. There's a spot on my lungs. All right, now take it easy, will you? It's not on your lungs. It's on your ear. It's the same thing, isn't it? Oh, jeez, I can't sleep. Oh, God, there's a tumor in my head the size of a basketball. Now I keep thinking I can feel it every time I blink. Oh, Jesus. He wants me to do a brain scan to confirm what he already suspects. Look, I'll make a deal with God. Let it just be my ear, okay? I'll go deaf. I'll go deaf and blind in one eye, maybe. But I don't want a brain operation. Once they go into my skull, I'll wind up like the guy with the wool cap who delivers for the florist. Relax, will you? Your whole life you run to doctors. The news is always fine. That's not true. What about years ago?
So, hello guys, I'm Rodolfo Carino and I'm going to talk about illness anxiety disorder. So, as you guys can see in the video, yung guy, nagpa-diagnose siya sa doktor para kasi nga may nahihilo daw siya and yung mayroon siyang hearing impairment sa right ear niya. Tapos, pinapabalik siya ng doktor and habang nasa office siya, nag-escalate sa pag-iisip niya na yung hearing impairment na yun is a classic symptom of brain tumor. Tapos, nung pagka-uwi niya, nag-escalate na naman. Iniisip niya na mamamatay na siya. And yung brain tumor niya is kasing laki na ng basketball. So, ayun no, isang example ng illness anxiety disorder. It is also called hypochondria or health anxiety disorder. So, from the words illness anxiety disorder, we can get na this anxiety about illness, and kaya naging disorder to is kapag nadi-disrupt na yung daily life nila, kakaisip, kaka-stress about sa illness na yun. So next slide please. So I'm going to talk about the causes of IAD. Isa sa most common causes is hindi nila masyadong naiintindihan yung body sensations nila. Kunwari, di ba yung sa lagnat, kaya lang naman tayo nilalagnat is because linalabanan ng katawan natin yung virus or yung bacteria. And some people, iba yung iniisip nila sa mga symptoms nila. Another cause is the people close to you worry excessively about their health. Syempre, kapag nasa environment ka na lagi ka nakakarinig ng about sa sakit, syempre mag-worry ka na din. Next slide, please. So, a big factor of having illness anxiety disorder is childhood trauma, kasi they either had an experience in dealing with real serious illness in their childhood, either the patient itself or someone na close sa kanila. They either had some traumatic experiences about child abuse too. Next slide, please. So, the last one is the internet. So, okay naman mag-search sa internet ng mga symptoms natin kapag may nararamdaman tayo. Pero, karamihan kasi, marami is nagsa-self-diagnose siya. Nagsa-self-diagnose sila without going to a specialist. Tapos, kapag may nakita sila sa internet is isipin nila, yun na yung sakit nila, malubha na yung sakit nila kahit na sila lang naman yung nag-diagnose sa sarili nila, which is bad. Next slide, please. So, we're going to talk about the symptoms of IAD. So, lahat ng symptoms na babanggitin is may duration ng at least 6 months. Ito yung pinaka main symptoms na is being preoccupied with having or getting a serious disease. Next is I'm going to talk about the symptoms of IAD. So, lahat ng following symptoms na babanggitin is may duration of at least 6 months. So, one is the main symptom of IAD, which is being preoccupied with having or getting a serious disease or health condition, no? So, ayun. Next is, yung iba, nag-isolate sila ng sarili nila, malayo sa mga tao, malayo sa lugar na matao, hindi na nila ginagawa yung mga activities sa labas, for fear of having illness. Number 3 is excessively worrying about a medical condition that runs in your family. So, ano rin to, no? Since, di ba meron tayong mga sikat na medical condition na, kunwari, hypertension, heart attack, cancer. Yun yung mga medical conditions na nag-run sa pamilya na kinakatakot ng iba na magkaroon din sila. Like diabetes din, ganun. 4 is worrying that minor somatic symptoms or normal body sensations mean you have a serious illness. So, katulad nga nung sa MECOS, since hindi nga nila masyadong kilala yung nangyayari sa katawan nila, isipin nila is mayroon na silang nakakamatay na disease. Next slide, please. Number 5, not assured from doctor visits or negative test results. So, ayun. Since nga nakabaon na sa utak nila yung idea na meron silang malubhang sakit, so i-refuse nila yung mga results na nakukuha nila sa mga specialist kahit na nakailang test na sila. So, ayun. Number 6 is repeated checking body for signs of illness or disease. Number 7 is, ito yung symptoms kaya natatawag nating disorder yung IAD, is that nag-worry so much yung patient na nade-disturb na yung daily life nila. Ayan. Next slide, please. So, next is the interventions for illness anxiety disorder. The first one and the most primary intervention for IAD is cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT. So, doon syempre pinag-uusapan yung about sa worry nila, sa stress nila, and using CBT, hopefully makapaghanap yung patient ng ways to cope sa stress nila, maliban sa pagpunta sa mga doktor, sa mga ospital. So we can also use some other forms of therapy na like behavioral stress management, since ayun nga nag-i-stress sila, nag-i-stress about sa iniisip nilang meron sila, kung ano meron sila. Next is exposure therapy. So for medications naman, kapag lang itong medications kapag na pumunta ka lang sa specialist and kung ano yung i-suggest nila after being diagnosed. So antidepressants such as selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors or SSRIs and other medication for mood or anxiety disorder may also help. So next, reporter.
Hi guys, I'm April May Baldonado and I'm the one who tackle about conversion disorder, and I'll give the example of this disease. Next slide please.
Well, Adelaide teenager Holly Longford has had a
to walk.
very real. Lucy Polkinghorn has more.
Completely lost full ability to walk.
I rely on everyone to help me get food, get change, help drown myself out of the shower because I can't do it.
Very frightening. You just see your child go from a perfectly active teenager to not being able to walk, not being able to talk.
It's very hard, I think, for people to understand, for laymen, for anyone to really understand how it can be that patients can present with such significant, overwhelming symptoms when there's no physical cause.
Incredibly, doctors say there shouldn't be anything wrong with Adelaide teenager Holly Longford.
I was spasming out of control and I couldn't stand or walk. But as I got in for longer, I started to lose my speech.
16-year-old Holly has been living a nightmare existence for over a year.
It was really frightening having all these tests done and each test coming back negative for everything.
What did you think was happening to you?
I just thought something's really wrong with me, but what it is, I don't know what it is. And is it like, could it kill me?
Up until then, she was like any other school-going teen.
Going out with friends to parties, I played netball, touch footy, and I danced.
But her world was turned upside down 14 months ago after a collision while playing netball.
And I came off the court crying because my back was in so much pain. And then the days progressed. I just got worse.
She saw chiropractors, physios and doctors, but no one could help.
I got admitted to another doctor and then he put me on fluoxetine and I had a reaction to it. So it sent my body off into a spasming seizure sort of thing, not being able to stop, and I couldn't walk at all.
She spent 2 weeks in hospital learning how to walk again. And despite countless tests and scans, doctors couldn't find anything physically wrong. For her mum, Wendy, the unknown was frightening.
You just see your little girl deteriorate and they can't find anything. And I suppose that's the hard thing as a parent. You don't want to believe it's a psychological issue either, because you think, I can't fix that.
No one really understood it as well. They just thought it was like a fist of freak case and like almost a miracle that I recovered so quick.
But not for long. The spasming in the legs returned and she was readmitted to hospital. And that's when she was diagnosed with the mysterious conversion disorder.
Conversion disorder is a disorder where patients present with signs and symptoms of a neurological illness, such as having had a stroke or a seizure of some description, but where there's no actual underlying physical illness. Instead, it's the body's response to some underlying stress.
While it seems unbelievable, Dr. Andrew Court from the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne says it's very real and illustrates the power of the mind over the body.
These symptoms are unconscious, they're not fabricated, they're not made up. They're something that the body and mind automatically does in order to avoid stress.
15-year-old Yana Tanska understands all too well. She's had the condition for 4 months. Hers was also triggered by back pain.
Some days I don't understand it, but like I understand what's happening, but you still wanna have a specific cause from it, like not just psychological, because it doesn't sound right. You just want something like a proper medical condition.
Health experts say little is known about the disorder and what triggers it. It can only be explained by psychological stress. But for Yana and Holly, two happy and healthy teens, it doesn't make sense.
Can you understand why?
It's your body's way of just saying it can't cope with stuff going on with your life, and it just needs to rebuild itself all over again, and that's really hard to accept.
I have no idea what it could have set it off. Yeah. Because at that time I was normal, I was happy, I was going out every weekend, going to parties and seeing friends.
While the symptoms aren't permanent, there's no quick or known cure, and there's always a chance it could return.
A rehabilitation program. It's a returning or retraining the body to functioning normally, which may involve physiotherapy, trying to work out what the underlying psychological distress is and be able to manage it and deal with it.
Nothing seems to be helping, so it's just hopefully time.
Okay guys, as you can see guys in the video, yun po yung example ng isang conversion disorder. And next slide please. Ano-ano nga ba yung conversion disorder? It is characterized by the presence of one or more symptoms suggesting a neurological disorder that cannot be explained by any known neurological and medical disorder but is often associated with stress and conflict. Katulad nga po nung nasa video na example. Next slide please. What is the symptoms of conversion disorder? First is movements cannot be controlled. It is a psychogenic non-epileptic seizures na yung mararamdaman ng pasyente ang pagiging hip thrusting, a lack of postictal disorientation, and generalized limb shaking. The patient often do not lose control of bowel or bladder function or sustain harm such as tongue biting, and they may last longer than a time seizure with waxing and waning pattern. The next is tunnel vision or blindness. Partial or total blindness, psychogenic non-epileptic seizures, unexplained sensory loss. Motor tics are some symptoms of conversion disorder that are frequently present non-organic visual disturbance, which can include blurred vision, abnormal eye movements, double vision, eye pain, positive or negative visual phenomena, or non-organic visual fields abnormalities are particularly prevalent in conversion disorder. Next is loss of smell or speech. One of the usual symptoms of conversion disorder is loss of smell or speech, because functional dyspnea or hoarseness or whispering is the most typical symptom, although others include slurred speech, articulation problems, stuttering, foreign accent or syndrome, and mutism. Ang isang examiner ay nagtatanong or for example, ang isang examiner ay nagtatanong sa pasyente na umubo or kumanta. Ang isang pasyente na merong symptoms ng conversion disorder ay mahirapan na gawin ito. So, next is numbness or paralysis. One of the usual symptoms of conversion disorder is paralysis. It typically affects just one limb or one half of the patient's body. It doesn't adhere to any particular anatomical arrangement. Normal deep tendon reflexes are still present in paralygia patients. Next slide please. The causes of conversion disorder. First is trauma. Imagine yourself in a busy public setting when all of a sudden your arms and legs cease functioning. You suddenly find yourself immobilized or unable to move and trapped in a place, one of cause in conversion disorder. That's one of the example. Next is adverse life event. One of the cause of conversion disorder. For example, a death of a loved one, this event is hindi mawawala sa isip ng isang taong merong conversion disorder dahil paulit-ulit itong bumabalik kahit matagal na dahil sa matinding stress ay nararanasan niya ito sa kasalukuyan. Next is acute chronic disease, stress, or acute chronic stressor. For example, if you are a bus driver and you frequently get stuck in traffic, or if you are in a bad relationship and you fight with your spouse all the time, if you work for a toxic boss, or if you live in a bad neighborhood with a lot of crime, or if your break-ins happen frequently. These are all examples of acute chronic stressors and one of the cause of conversion disorder. Next is child abuse or sexually or emotionally. This one of the cause of conversion disorder dahil sa past history ng isang tao naging dahilan ng pagkakaroon ng conversion disorder. Nang dahil dito, sa history na to, mula pagkabata, hindi nawala after a long years because this is a traumatic event in their childhood life. At nagiging cause ito sa kasalukuyan ng pagkaroon ng conversion disorder. Next slide please. Next is the intervention for conversion disorder. First is occupational or physical therapy. This kind of physical therapy can be a crucial component of a speedy recovery from conversion disorder in individual with functional neurological disorder by helping them feel better physically. During physical therapy, the patient's progress should be highlighted with an emphasis on what they are doing correctly. Progressive challenges must begin to the patient while incorporating behavior changes into functional mobility programs or gait training, strengthening, neuromuscular re-education, and balance training are among the most effective intervention according to research. Next is counseling. Sa counseling naman is pwede ka lumapit sa mga psychologists and to seek help on how to prevent the cause and symptoms of conversion disorder. Dahil silang makakatulong kung paano mababawasan at maiwasan ang pagiging stressful mong tao at ang pagkakaroon mo ng anxiety na hindi mo maiwasan sa araw-araw lalo na pag ikaw ay merong conversion disorder. Kaya counseling is the best way para mapagaan ang iyong nararamdaman. Next is hypnosis. Based on my research, one or more neurological functions may disappear suggestion method that has been successfully applied for many years to treatment disorder. It is prescribed here how a patient with conversion condition is blindness and deafness type improve satisfactory following one or hypnotherapy session. Next is antidepressant or antipsychotic drugs. Although the antidepressant cannot be treated with the pharmaceuticals and no medications have received FDA approved for this purpose in person who have conversion disorder. But if you having a depression or other mood disorder are experiencing pain or other having trouble sleeping, drugs like antidepressants must be may be beneficial. Next slide, please. Next reporter, please.
So, so the next topic to be discussed is malingering. Um, so what is malingering? Malingering is the faking or exaggeration of illness, either mental. Ay, wait lang, nagkamali ako. Sorry, sorry. So, next topic is malingering. But in this case, we don't have a video to present. So to define malingering, what is malingering? It is a faking or exaggeration of an illness, either mental or physical, to obtain some reward or gain or to avoid punishment or stress. Um, Malingering is not considered as a mental illness according to DSM-5. So sa malingering, it is not considered as a mental illness kasi it is an act. It is a voluntary act na meaning these are actions by choice. So, ang pinakamadaling example ng malingering is alam ko naman na lahat tayo is dumaan sa phase na nagpapanggap tayo na nagkakasakit para um, ma-avoid ang isang bagay o kaya makakuha tayo ng attention or ng special treatment or maybe other rewards. So, causes of malingering. According to DSM-5, criteria for malingering are as follows. Medio-legal context, marked discrepancy between claim distress and diagnosis. So, ibig sabihin nito is, yung sinasabi niya is iba dun sa diagnosis na pinapakita. Kumbaga para siyang nagsisinungaling. Next is lack of cooperation during evaluation and in complying with prescribed treatment. Dito yung kapag ini-evaluate ba ang isang tao kung siya ay isang malingerer, um, hindi siya nakiki-operate at pinipilit pa rin niya na pinipilit pa rin niya yung um, kung ano yung sa tingin niya. Next is presence of antisocial personality disorder. So, malingering is common sa mga tao na meron silang anxious personality and common din ito sa mga tao meron ng fear of punishment and abandonment. So, ginagawa nila ito para nga maka-avoid sila ng mga stressful situations. So, next is symptoms of malingering. Um, Ito yung symptoms na kung saan kapag tayo ay may sinususpect na siya ay isang malingerer. So, first is has a low elated mood, exaggerated delusions and hallucinations, have a good insight about their disease, marami silang alam tungkol dun sa kanilang nararamdaman raw, and non-compliant if and may lie if asked certain questions. Ayun yung sinabi kanina na marked discrepancy na iba yung sinasabi niya sa kung ano yung nakalagay dun sa diagnosis niya. So, next is interventions for malingering. According sa research ko at sa pagbasa rin sa mga textbooks, wala raw or no medicine intervention can cure malingerers. It is highly advised na yung therapist ay hindi raw dapat ina-accuse yung malingerer directly kasi mas lalo siyang magagalit or i-defend niya lalo yung sarili niya. So the most advisable approach is to confront the malingerer by indirectly remarking that their findings do not meet the physician's criteria for diagnosis. And the physician may also encourage the patient through to undergo to behavioral therapy, psychotherapy, tulad ng CPT and counseling. So that's it for malingering po. And next is factitious disorder.
So for factitious disorder, next slide, we're going to watch a video.
What happens when that powerful need isn't satisfied? Tonight, John Stossel brings you one woman's amazing confession. Among your neighbors or friends, and maybe even in your own family, there could be someone just like her, someone desperate for love and attention and getting it in a strange and self-destructive way.
She wants us to call her Julie. That's not her real name, and she's disguised her appearance for this interview because Julie has a secret life.
A lot of my hospitalizations centered around what I did to my bladder. At first, I just put blood and urine samples. Then I decided to make it bleed for itself. And I started putting Drano in it. You know, lye or other alkalines or strong acids is what's going to do it for you.
Julie's secret life is her attraction to hospitals. It started when she was 18 and was hospitalized after being hit by a car. After a troubled childhood, the hospital was the first place she ever liked.
I remember when I went home from the hospital, I didn't want to go. I felt like I was going to cry to leave the hospital, but I didn't really know why. And I didn't want to leave.
So she began to invent ways to get back into the hospital.
Like I took oven cleaner, rub it on my arms, and get a chemical burn. Put whatever was under the kitchen sink in some orange juice and, drink it to see what happened.
Her first attempts didn't make her sick enough to be hospitalized. Then she tried Drano. That worked.
I was hospitalized more than 30 times. I lost count after that.
All for things you had done to yourself?
Yeah, well, like when the bladder started getting better, or at some of the treatments that help it. Well, what I do is, inject bacteria into my veins. I'd contaminate the IVs.
So you would
inject things into the IV lines.
Like dirt from the floor or feces?
Anything bacteria causing. Things that contain bacteria.
And didn't you fear you might die from these things?
I always thought I would get well. There was a point, like, my bladder ended up, they took it out. It went too far. And it's gone now. And
who wants to go to a hospital? I think hospitals are frightening, confining, creepy places. But to people like Julie, the hospital is a comforting place. Think about it. It is a very nurturing environment.
How are you?
It's a safe, womb-like place, a bit like being a child at home with loving parents. Julie will not talk about her parents, but she says the hospital's nurturing gave her the strength to attend college and keep a job.
It was the caring, like nurses will sit down by you and talk to you about family things. And after you're in that same hospital, like 10, 15 times, they know you. They know you from the cleaning people to the dietary. They all know you, and it's like it's a family feel.
So a family feel that you needed and weren't getting in your life.
Well, yeah, because that little bit of encouragement, a little bit of caring can carry you a long way.
What Julie has is called factitious disorder. What it is, simply put, is disease forgery. People fake being sick or actually make themselves sick, all to get loving, nurturing attention from doctors, nurses, family, and friends. It's different from hypochondria in that hypochondriacs just think they're sick. People with factitious disorder have actually made themselves sick. In its most extreme form, it's called Munchausen syndrome. This refers to people whose lives are totally consumed by this compulsion to get themselves hospitalized. That's rare, but thousands of people are thought to have secret lives like Julie's. Many doctors say on any given day in most hospitals, there's at least one patient like her. As far as we know, Julie is the only person who has been willing to publicly admit what she has done.
When I was
So, ayun guys, no? So, nako-compare tong factitious disorder sa malingering and sa illness anxiety disorder. Unlike sa malingering kasi yung malingering ginagawa to ng mga tao for rewards, for kunwari para magkaroon ng bakasyon, ganun. Samantalang yung factitious disorder naman is talagang either sinasaktan nila yung sarili nila for no obvious external rewards or concrete rewards. Most probably para ma-fill nila yung role ng pagiging pasyente, para ma-take care of ng, yun yan, katulad sa video, ng nurse. Iniisip niya na yung hospital is may homey feel, may naaalagaan kasi siya. And na-encourage siya na tumuloy sa buhay niya. Ayan, next please. Next slide. So, factitious disorder can be separated into two types. Factitious disorder imposed on self, kung saan yung pasyente is siya yung may disorder na to. What I mean by that is siya yung nag-a-act para saktan or i-harm yung sarili niya para ma-hospitalize siya. Samantalang yung factitious disorder imposed on another naman is, an example nito is yung nanay, sinasaktan or hinaharm niya intentionally yung anak niya para mapalabas na, aalagaan ko yung anak ko, mabuti akong magulang, ganon. Next slide please. So, there are many causes sa pagkakaroon ng factitious disorder, no? So, traumatic experience, ito yung isa sa major factor ng pagkakaroon ng factitious disorder. So, itong traumatic experiences na to, karamihan is from childhood, no? So, kapag syempre yung bata nane-neglect, na-abandon, wala siyang happy childhood, katulad nung patient sa video, although hindi niya kwento, no, sinabi niya nga na kapag nasa hospital siya, feeling niya inaalagaan siya ng mga yung nag-stop ba yung mga nurse para kausapin siya, para alagaan siya. And syempre, no, since may traumatic experience ka from childhood, from being neglected, from being abandoned, abused, emotionally, physically, or sexually, syempre parang yun yung way niya pag-cope sa mga experiences na yun. Number 2 is depression. Sama natin yung social isolation. So, ayun nga, syempre, karamihan ng may depression and socially isolated people, no, parang onti or wala sa buhay nila yung tao na sa tingin nila nagke-care sa kanila, in their view lang. And ayun, dalawa yun sa cause ng factitious disorder. For number 4 naman is sa family dysfunction. Pwede ring loss of a loved one, yung kung sino man nag-aalaga sa kanya nung bata siya. A history of close contact with someone na merong severe or chronic illnesses, no. Syempre dahil yun, sa example is loss of a loved one, since nawala yung nag-aalaga sa kanya, yun ay, kunwari, example is a family. Yung nag-aalaga sa kanya is yung mama niya, ganon. Tapos yung tatay niya is laging nagtatrabaho. tapos nagkasakit yung mama niya and nawala, syempre, magiging, ano yun, bad experience yun sa bata. Tapos, after pa mawala yung magulang, yung mama niya is, yung tatay niya is wala ring time sa kanya. Example is nagtatrabaho, gano'n, busy sa work and stuff. So, next naman is, next slide is yung symptoms ng FB. So, syempre, ayun nga, mahilig silang mag-frequent sa hospital, lagi silang napunta. And dahil doon, nagkakaroon sila ng complicated or confusing medical history since paiba-iba nga. Yung iba, sinasaktan, yung katulad niya sa video, yung una, nalagyan niya ng blood yung urine sample niya, then nag-escalate, talagang pinadugo niya na, nag-try siya ng ibang chemicals, and stuff like that. Tapos, ayun, extensive knowledge of medical terms and disease. So, ayun, karamihan sa may FD is alam nila yung ibang terms and mga nangyayari sa hospital sa process ng pagpapadiagnose nila. Tapos minsan ginagamit nila yung mga knowledge na yun para sabihin kung ano yung sa tingin nilang magiging result ng tests and exams. Number 3 is presence of many surgical scars. Since mahilig nga silang mag-hospital, gagawin nila yung iba't ibang bagay, sinasaktan nila sarili nila. Yan, nagkakaroon sila ng mga scars. And, ganyan. Next slide, please. Number 5 is eagerness to have risky medical tests, surgery, or other procedures. So, ayun nga, since maraming yung medical test, surgery, nagkakaroon ng scars, yung parang nagkakapatong-patong na siya, ganun. Number 6 is reluctance to allow doctors to talk to family or friends. 7, having conditions that gets worse for no apparent reason. 8, absence of symptoms when not observed. So, ayun. And for the intervention naman, psychotherapy or counseling, CVT, ayan, primary intervention. At pinag-uusapan nila kung paano magko-cope sa war nila para mapatigil yung pagpunta sa mga ospital since kasi syempre sa ospital mas important sa mga doctors and nurses na mas mga nangangailangan talaga yung talagang may sakit. Next is family therapy. Ayun, mahalaga. Kaso nga lang, 'di ba, since yung isang symptoms nga nila is ayaw nilang ipaalam sa mga pamilya nila or friends nila. Next is psychiatric hospitalization. Ayun, pag wala na talaga, pag mahirap, pwede siyang pa-hospital na lang sa psychiatrist. Ayun. So, ayun lang po. Next po is case study namin.
Ulitin ko lang yun sa part ko. Wait lang. Sige, wait lang. So, ayun. So, after ng video, makikita natin na yung dalawang patients na diagnosed ng SSD is yung bata. Sabi niya, feeling niya is para siyang mamamatay at makikita naman natin sa facial expressions at sa kanilang mga statements na sobrang worried sila or may excessive worry sila tungkol sa health concerns. So, sa SSD, ang isang tao nagkaka-develop ng tinatawag nating health anxiety. na kung saan ito ay nagpo-produce ng high levels of distress tungkol sa health concern. SSD patients tend to view small symptoms as a sign of living disease. So, aside from that, um, gaya nga ng sabi ko kanina, nagkakaroon sila ng distress tungkol sa kanilang somatic symptom at yung mga patients na mayroong SSD, they tend to seek frequent medical care and um, in, they tend to see different physicians kagaya na meron silang option 1, may option 2, option 3, and so on. Itong process na ito is magastos and usually hindi sila satisfied kapag yung result ng diagnosis is walang medical explanation or care. At dahil dito, may isip nila na yung mga medical expert is incompetent and uncaring na parang wala ba silang pake sa kanilang nararamdaman. So, they continue to seek more treatment. So, yun. Wait lang, present ka lang yung yung study. Bakit wala? Ay, alam ko. Bakit wala? Yun. Okay.
Okay. And here's the illness anxiety disorder case study. Next, please. Background of the study. A 73-year-old Saudi man who started visiting the primary healthcare center around 25 years ago. The patient has been concerned with having a cancer that would only give him only a few days to live, making the patient continuously visit the hospital, which costed over $170,000. Next, please. In the beginning, the patient was evaluated medically through detailed history and documentation of his symptoms, and then a management plan was created accordingly to include cancer. Full history, physical examinations, and radiological and pathological investigations were ordered, and the results were all negative for cancer. The physician explained the result of the investigation to the patient, but he refused them and continued to insist that he had cancer. For the past 25 years of continuous hospital visiting, he has had almost weekly and even daily visits to the primary care. The patient keeps complaining of variable symptoms every week and specifically asking for certain lab tests and radiological studies. Also, he successfully convinced some physicians to order a biopsy for him. Symptoms. Symptoms shown by the patient. First is the patient is preoccupied with the idea of cancer presence for more than 6 months. The patient has this persistent occupation of this belief which was disabling him and limiting him from having a normal life. Next is the patient has continuously visited the medical institution in the last 25 years. The patient refused the result of the physician investigation. The patient repeatedly insisted that he had cancer regardless of the result. And lastly is the family and social history evaluation also revealed a very low socioeconomic status and the similar conditions in the family. Interestingly, two of the patient's daughters had similar reported conditions, which could raise the suspicion of the possible genetic predisposition that could be triggered by shared environmental factors between him and his daughters. Intervention. After over 25 years of seeking medical attention, a family doctor has put an end to this by directing the patient to the right path. The doctor took several actions like directing the patient to a cognitive behavioral therapy for 6 sessions, 90 minutes each. The 6 sessions directed toward the cognitive and perceptual mechanism thought to underlie this disorder appeared to significantly improve a range of hypochondriacal symptoms, beliefs, and attitudes. Furthermore, it is important to keep in mind that IAD is a chronic disease and that CBT sessions should be followed by follow-up sessions, which are considered as booster sessions. Conclusion. This case shows the full course of illness anxiety disorder patient. It shows how the symptoms started and the huge burden of it on the patient himself, his family, medical practitioners, and the hospital. Moreover, it shows the course of the treatment and how it has helped the patient to improve significantly, although there are still active cycles of the disorder, which can be reduced by applying further booster CBT sessions. Okay, that's the end of our report. Thank you.